Hindsighters, welcome to Keeping It Real with Miss T, where we give you the real tea with a twist on Hindsight Media Radio 103.5 FM, where there's always something good to talk about. Tonight, we are going to touch on something that's very important. I don't think necessarily that it's something that's held to 1 month, but it's something that we all need to work on daily. What am I talking about? Mental health. This month, which is May, is Mental Health Awareness Month. It was observed in the United States since the 1949. How awesome is that, right? 1949. And it was started by the Mental Health American Organization. And it's been around that long. So every month, those mental health communities gather together to spread awareness about mental health. But just know that it's something that should not just be done in May, it has to be done every single day. And you're in for a treat tonight. I have a phenomenal guest with me, Angela Berra, and she's going to come and she's going to share some amazing things. Angela is the Director of Programs for NAMI St. Louis. So welcome, Angela, to the platform.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Tell us what and who is NAMI as an organization, in addition to what are the acronyms for NAMI? Because we hear NAMI, or we hear that name, and we always hear all these letters, but people oftentimes do not know what it stands for. And included in there, if you can touch on the values and mission and purpose of NAMI.
Absolutely. So NAMI, the acronym is NAMI, and that stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So the way that this really works is it's a three-tiered, I call it a three-tiered organization. So we have our national NAMI, which is located in Washington, D.C. And then we have, every state has state sites. So here in Missouri, our state site is located in Jefferson City, Missouri. And then we have local affiliate sites throughout our state. So NAMI St. Louis is an affiliate of the state of Missouri. And every state has a state level site. And most of the states also have local sites. So you can actually go to NAMI.org, which is the national website, and you can look up what affiliate site is closest to you wherever you might live in the US. NAMI St. Louis in particular, we're just part of the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization. So there's over 650 affiliates in the US. NAMI St. Louis, as a local affiliate, as I mentioned, is a local affiliate of the state of Missouri. And we've served the St. Louis community since the 1970s. Wow. So what really makes NAMI unique is that we provide all of our programs and services free of cost to our communities, and they're peer-led. So what that means is that the folks that are facilitating our programs, they themselves either have family members that are living with mental health conditions, or they themselves are living with mental health conditions. Our mission here at NAMI St. Louis is that through our education, advocacy, support, leadership, and customer-centered services, we will improve the quality of life of persons experiencing mental illness and that of their families, caregivers, and friends. So we have lots of different values at NAMI. Our values include hope, inclusion, empowerment, compassion, and fairness. And really the purpose of our whole organization is to fight against stigma and discrimination around mental health.
Good stuff. So now we already spoke to your role. You're the Director of Programs, but what does that encompass?
So I'm the Director of Programs here for the St. Louis area. Every Director of Program in the NAMI sites might look different. I do a lot of different things at our organization. I do everything from program development and program implementation, data analysis. Here in St. Louis, I do a lot of grant writing. I even manage some of our parts of our website, because we're only a staff of 7 here at NAMI St. Louis, and we're hoping in the near future we'll be growing. We believe that is the case. And so obviously the more people that we have, the more some of those roles disperse. But really the biggest piece is to ensure that our programs are meeting the community needs. And I oversee all of that.
Now, what motivated you to get into this form of work for mental health with NAMI?
Yeah. So I'm a licensed master social worker by trade, but I have personal connection to mental health. Um, I myself live with mental health conditions, and I have family and friends with mental health conditions. And for so long as a social worker, we have to do a lot of boundary setting around talking about our own experience. And although I still do that to some extent in this role, because I still am a social worker, I am able to talk more about my experience living with mental health related issues. I believe that when we talk about mental health, it really does impact our communities. Mental health definitely does not discriminate. It
Mhm.
doesn't discriminate based on race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, or just life experience. We all have mental health because
Mhm.
we have a body which holds our brains, which is where our mental health lives. So I think the more that we normalize the conversation, the more people might be going and getting the help that they may need and also deserve.
Absolutely. So being that you do have those mental health personal experiences, are you able just to share a little bit with us, if you don't mind?
Sure, yeah. So I have a variety of different diagnoses myself. I live with post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, and then I also, at a very young age, was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which was pretty common in the 90s.
Mhm.
And so that those are just a few of the diagnoses that I have. However, my diagnoses are just a part of my story. They definitely do not define me.
Mhm.
And I try to be very open about my experiences and let communities know that despite having these mental health conditions, I'm a successful part of our society, and I contribute to our society, and that recovery and stability is so possible. Even if you are living with a mental health condition or you have a loved one that's living with a mental health condition.
Absolutely. Thank you for that awesome sharing, for being so vulnerable, because
Of
as you
course.
stated, it is imperative that we do talk about it.
Mhm.
As so many of us we're all human, and like you said, we all have a brain to where we may not be able to articulate or understand a diagnosis or not even know what the diagnosis is. And we could be walking around with a mental issue when we're having stresses and we're having anxiety and some of the other challenges that we have. People have to realize that just talk about it. Find you a village that can help you get through it because you're able to get through it. A lot of us do have those, like I stated, but it's more controlled. Some people can't control it, right?
Right.
Wow. So what are some of the basic mental health facts and how can people learn more? And then you can also speak to the St. Louis side of it, but what are some of the basics, the meat of it?
Absolutely. So, just some basic facts about mental health. We know statistically in the US, 1 in 5 adults experience a mental health condition in any given year. And 1 in 5 youth ages 13 to 18 have experienced a mental health condition at some point in their life. Of those 1 in 5 young people, they are only about 50% of them are actually going and they're not receiving treatment. And then about 1 in 5 of those adults, nearly 60%, are not receiving treatment.
Wow.
And that's a big amount of people, right? 1 in 5 is a lot of folks.
Absolutely.
Um, so it's really something that is impacting our communities at a high rate. And again, we're not talking about it openly necessarily. So that's why it's so important to talk about it. We also know that there are a lot of different reasons why people don't receive treatment. In particular, some of those reasons can include like lack of insurance or the cost of assessment treatment, because
Mhm.
just like any other physical health care, mental health care is costly. Um, there's also the factor of limited access to mental health providers. So there are shortages of psychiatrists in the US. And then shame, fear, and stigma. People,
Mhm.
worry about the labels and the fear that are associated with that come with mental health conditions, oftentimes in our society. Um, Additionally, another statistic that I really think is important to talk about in particular over the last year because of the COVID-19 pandemic,
Mhm.
it's been reported that 1 in 3 adults in the US are experiencing signs and symptoms of depression and anxiety. That's
Wow.
a lot of people. that are being impacted on a daily basis. Their mental health is, deteriorating, and there are resources that exist, so there is hope.
Mhm.
Um, but there's a lot of folks that are struggling and need support.
Wow. So who would you say that mental health affects the most between like, females and males and, young adults and things of that sort? What are like the percentages, if there is a such thing, that it affects more?
Yeah, so it depends really on the diagnosis. In particular, uh, we know that, for example, with anxiety, prior to 2020, one of the statistics was that about an estimated 40 million adults in the US, or about 18% of the population, has an anxiety disorder.
Mhm.
And most of the time, those diagnoses develop, or the symptoms develop, before the age of 21. So it's usually in that age range of like 18 to 20, 25 to 18 to 30, where you
Mhm.
start seeing folks really showing signs and symptoms. Sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it's later. We also know with anxiety in particular, about 60 women are about 60% more likely to be diagnosed than men. And I don't know that there's necessarily, we can say one group is being affected more than others. I think there's a
Mhm.
lot of different factors as to maybe why some of these statistics exist in the first place. Like the women's statistic, we oftentimes hear women are being diagnosed at higher rates than men. And I often say, well, women, we tend to be taught socially
Mhm.
that to express our feelings more and to talk about our feelings more. And so we're telling health professionals, mental health professionals, that we're not feeling well at higher rates than men, and really maybe that's why we're being diagnosed at a higher rate. So um, I think that is a factor that we do have to kind of acknowledge.
Yes. And in what ways can people maximize their physical and their mental well-being?
Well, I think there's a lot of different ways. I think, using coping skills, I think, are definite ways that they can maximize their physical and mental well-being. In particular, thinking about like maybe doing certain types of exercise. So we know that exercise can reduce like mild to moderate symptoms of anxiety and depression, for example.
Mhm.
um, Nutrition is so important when we're talking about our mental health, because what we're intaking affects our physical health, right? And so our physical health, mental health is a part of physical health. Sleep is vital when we're talking about mental health, because if we're not sleeping well, we tend to be more irritable and vulnerable. And when that takes place, we're often not able to take the best care of ourselves.
Absolutely. And I'm guilty of the sleep part.
Same.
Oh my gracious. I'm like, oh, I'll sleep when I pass away.
I understand. I'm oftentimes, I tell myself all the time, I have to practice what I preach, right?
It always sounds good. We give the best advice. However, it's
Yeah,
oftentimes hard. It's often hard for us to take, give ourselves that advice. But, we're work in progress, right? Part of that mental
absolutely. We're
So,
human.
yes, yes, we are. So, do you believe that social media has caused some mental health issues? And you can elaborate on that because, especially with the pandemic, we know that adults and kids, there's so many people having to work from home. Kids are having to, well, there's out for the summer now, but they're having to go to school online virtually and things of that sort. So, with that balance, what has social media, because people are going more on social media, it's the TikToks, the Instagrams, the Facebook, and others. I'm sure I'm not that hip anymore, so I don't know those names, but does that have some bearing on mental health issues?
Absolutely. I mean, I think what is out in our world always has an impact on mental health.
Mhm.
Whether that's social media or too much or too little of technology, there's always kind of those arguments. And so I think with social media in particular, over the last year, there has been many blessings, right? Because we have been able to connect with people virtually when we're not able to connect with them in person. And that is an amazing thing that we are living in an age where that is accessible.
Mhm.
However, we also never get a break from that because
Right.
it's all the time. And I think oftentimes with social media, we're portraying like the very best things on social media, right? Like the best things that are happening to us
Right.
most of the time. And so, I think sometimes, especially for our young people, they kind of have a distorted sense of what is reality at times when all they see is like these elaborate um, like celebrity things that are happening and all this constant positivity. There is this concept of toxic positivity
Mhm.
where everything is positive all the time, and that can be really overwhelming, especially like if you're living through a global pandemic when maybe
Oh,
you've lost your job or your parents have lost their jobs, or maybe you're at a point where you might end up becoming homeless, or you have a loved one who's struggling with substance use. I mean, there's so many things that people are dealing with. And um, on social media, we tend to only see the positive things. We
mhm.
don't always see on a regular basis, unless we're really looking for it, things that are kind of like real life situations that are happening for people on a constant
Absolutely. That there's no
basis.
realistic, they're giving you the facade of what they want you to believe is happening within their lives, whereas something else can be happening. And for some people, that may be their outlet, that may be their escape from
Absolutely.
whatever's going on mental, even though it is a facade. So let's get to talk about, because you mentioned social work, and I love the fact that you shared that's a background that you come from. So how can teachers provide more support for students, when they're suffering from like mental illness such as depression? Because we know that
Mhm.
kids go through that a lot with depression and anxiety and things of that sort. So how can the school systems and teachers help the students that go through that?
I love that you asked that question because NAMI offers an amazing program and I love talking about it. It's called Ending the Silence. We offer it here in the St. Louis area. I know not every single state offers it, but more states are offering it now. And it is a presentation where we're going into middle and high school and talking to middle school age students, and we are teaching them warning signs about mental health, and how to help a friend, how to seek help, what resources are available to them. And they also get to hear from a young person, 18 to 35, share their lived experience. Part of the Ending the Silence program also has these two other presentations that also talk about warning signs and what resources are available and how to help students, which are for teachers. And there's also a family portion of the presentation as well. So it's a three-part presentation
Mhm.
that we do offer to the community, again, free of cost for the school
Wow.
districts in most places. I know here in St. Louis, we have been very lucky to receive some funding to be able to continue to offer that free of cost. And we can teach those teachers about
Mhm.
how to best support their students because they're going to see things in the classroom around mental health, and we want to make sure that teachers are prepared to address whatever comes their way.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So now, what are some of the warning signs for mental illness? Because we talked about people have that, they suffer from it, but they just may not know what's truly going on with them. What are some of those warning signs?
Yeah, so warning signs can look different depending upon what the diagnosis is. It can be anything from emotional based symptoms, any to physical symptoms. So
Mhm.
a lot of times when it comes to like physical symptoms, it could be like upset stomach,
Mhm.
like insomnia, struggling to sleep. It could be um, things like racing heartbeat, and many other types of symptoms.
Mhm.
Again, that's pretty, there are different symptoms for different diagnoses and mental health conditions. And then there's emotional symptoms, right? So, like extreme irritability could be one of the symptoms. Not feeling like you can get out of bed in the morning could be another symptom. Feeling uh, just generally overwhelmed, all the way to maybe like hearing and seeing things that aren't real.
Mhm.
So symptoms really range, but the biggest piece to know about mental health in general is, if it's affecting your day-to-day life and your ability to cope with day-to-day life, then it might be time to seek some help.
Absolutely. So as we near end of um, our podcast here tonight, how can people get involved as a member or advocate with NAMI?
So there's definitely a lot of different ways that you can get involved. I always suggest go to, if you're here in the St. Louis area, you can go to namistl.org and visit our volunteer page, and you can fill out a volunteer application and we would be in contact with you. But if you're not in St. Louis, you can go to nami.org, which is the national site again, and you can select your local affiliate, and then you can go through their process and get involved, because we do function with all volunteers for our program. So volunteers are very important to the NAMI model. And we always love for folks to get more involved with us and become members, and to advocate for those that might not be able to advocate for themselves right now.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Is there any other information that you would like to impart on the listeners tonight that you think that you would like to leave them with?
Sure. I would just like to do a little bit of an overview of like what programs generally we offer for NAMI. So we do have family educational courses, as well as educational courses for individuals living with mental health conditions. We offer support groups. We have a variety of different mental health presentations that really teach communities how to advocate for themselves, and how to seek help, and kind of where to go and how to navigate the process. We also have a helpline here in the St. Louis area. It's a resource line for folks that are in our area that might want some local resources. That's 314-962-4670. And then you can email us at info@namistl.org if you're in the St. Louis area again. But NAMI National also has a helpline that you can visit. And they even have a text line, which is pretty amazing. And you can text NAMI to 741-741, and it's 24 hours a day free crisis counseling. That's again through our NAMI National, so that's available to the whole US.
Wow, and that's free of charge as well.
Correct.
That is awesome. Thank you so very much. I mean, Angela, this has been phenomenal, with some great tools and tips on how to work through the mental illness. And in addition to getting the help and being able to receive the help and know that it's there. NAMI is there in many parts of the country, all over. You have St. Louis, who definitely has its own hubs, and you have Georgia, for those that are in Georgia, and those that are in other places, North Carolina, South Carolina, New York, all over. NAMI is everywhere. And then if you listen to Angela real good, she kept using that word free. I always like to say free 99. So she's used that word free over and over and over and over. So that means that there's no excuse. If you know that you are having challenges out there and it's just tough and you feel like you can't talk to a family or friend, NAMI's there for you. So make sure that you are reaching out to NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness. They are there for you. Angela has given you that information for you to reach out. Again, that text line is 741-741. You can even text. A lot of you out there don't like to talk anymore. You don't like to use your words. I think we forgot about that. We now just like to thumb it up, right? And type with our fingers or send an email, but it's sometimes good to use your voice and be that for yourself and everyone else. But again, Angela, like I said, thank you so very much for your time and energy tonight. You definitely gave some great shares, and I look forward to having you here again to share whatever new is coming out with NAMI St. Louis and NAMI in general.
Thank you so much. And I just remind the audience that you are not alone, and NAMI is here to help.
Absolutely. So that's an awesome close. So Hindsighters, thank you for tuning in tonight on Hindsight Media Radio 103.5 FM. Please visit our website at www.hindsightmediaradio.com. Good night.